time for rain! Houston, we have a problem.
All right, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Texans Junkies. I'm Mark, joined as always by Nathan, and man, we went like 3 weeks without recording, and it feels good to be back. Not a whole lot going on, obviously, but today we're going to go over just some small news items, and then we're going to talk about our fantasy breakouts. Nathan, how are you doing, man? It's been a while since we recorded.
Yeah, it's been a while, but it's not much has gone on, and we were going to do an episode last week, but there wasn't too much to really discuss. But we had to do one this week. I was craving an episode. I really wanted to talk Texans.
Yeah, dude, of course,
but
me
yeah,
too.
Everything else is good though.
Yeah, and it's sneakily getting closer to the season. It's June 20th today. So July, August, like two months until we're well into preseason. That's pretty exciting. Let's go ahead and hop into this Bill O'Brien interview that happened, because that's kind of one of the bigger things that we wanted to talk about. And I'm going to let you take the lead since I kind of only saw snippets of it. But Bill O'Brien did an interview on sort of his past role as both the head coach and GM. And it sort of turned a lot of heads because he admitted some past mistakes. But Nathan, what were your thoughts on this interview?
Yeah, I mean, like when I first saw it and I first saw like kind of what he was saying, I was a little upset only because it just seems so nonchalant. Like I'm grateful for everything that's happened, right? Hindsight's 2020. We wouldn't be where we're at without Bill O'Brien, right? But at the same time, like those times put us through hell. Like after DeAndre left, it was just like a domino effect. Then JJ or Deshaun left, JJ left. All those guys just we just started fading away as a franchise. And so I'm going to kind of go over kind of what he said, and then I want to know what you think.
Definitely.
So basically, they asked him, about his role with the Texans, and he said, "In the end, that's not who I am. That's another lesson learned. I didn't really enjoy being the GM. I didn't enjoy negotiating contracts. In some respects, I lost relationships with some of the guys I was coaching. In my opinion, there's very few guys in the history of football that can ever do that, and they're the greatest of the greats. I feel like I'm a good coach. I feel like I can coach, but those things I'm not great at. I can evaluate talent. I know how to evaluate talent, but I shouldn't be negotiating contracts and things like that. In the end, that was a mistake by me. I wish I really didn't do that, to be really honest with you." And he referred to Jack Easterby as like another guy, or he never really called him out by name, which was probably because their relationship is probably terrible now. I couldn't imagine it being a good relationship, but he did point out that he was part of the trade that got Laramie Tunsil here, which is true. Thanks for that, I guess. But I really didn't see anything there that was like I'm sorry to the city of Houston. It's just kind of like, I don't know, man. Like it put a lot of emotional stress on us as fans, as a fan base, as an organization, like that whole era. That's how I felt about it.
Yeah. He doesn't talk about, we gave up a lot in that Laramie Tunsil trade, and we also got like Kenny Stills, for example, who didn't really pan out. He had some good moments, but he's gonna bring up good things that he did, of course. It was just so far overshadowed by and he says he was a great coach, but a lot of times it was frustrating watching him coach. I feel like he didn't make good game management decisions, and obviously the GM stint was terrible. He says he can evaluate talent, but he really didn't draft well either. A lot of busts that kind of culminated into the Ross Blacklock pick. I think that was a first rounder, maybe a second rounder, and JJ
that was
openly
the pick we got for D-Hop.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was it. Thank you. And that pick openly made JJ Watt super frustrated because he knew that Ross wasn't the guy, which sucks. That sucks for Ross to be in that position too. But yeah, overall, like it sucked. I'm glad we're where we are now. When I hear Bill O'Brien say he thinks he's a good coach, you know what that makes me think is he's making a comeback. Texans, go. Let's cut ties with D'Amico. Eat that 40 million, and let's get Bill O'Brien back in the building.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, he's referring to the greatest of the great, aka Bill Belichick, when he talks about coaches that can do both GM and coaching duties, and he just wasn't cut out for it. It's interesting to hear him talk about this and sort of own up to it a little bit. But
Yeah, and also, like Bill Belichick also had a lot of people around him that built the Patriots. He had Jack Easterby, so you got to kind of cut him some slack. Easterby gave him that position. Um, I think it was just a panic decision. I don't know what he was thinking, but obviously after the D Hop trade, like we all knew it was over. It was done. He had to go, and obviously like the next year we started off like 0-4, and he got fired. So
in my eyes, Bill O'Brien was the enabler of Jack Easterby. Like
really,
he's oh yeah. I that was my impression, at least, is that the reason why Easterby was in the building is because Bill O'Brien was there. And I know Easterby was VP. He really got a lot of control over time. I think he was just an advisor starting out, like he was the spiritual advisor or something. And I thought Bill O'Brien brought him over from the Patriots, or maybe I'm recalling that incorrectly, but yeah, that I kind of paired them together as sort of being a tandem. And then once Bill O'Brien left, it was only a matter of time before Easterby was gone.
right?
But,
Yeah, I mean, obviously some rough times then, but we would love to hear what y'all think about the interview. I thought it was pretty cool, honestly. He's now the head coach of Boston College, I believe. So good luck to him and all his endeavors. But yeah, we're gonna put him in the past. He's definitely a thing of the past. So, but to move on to
real quick, I'm
better
sorry.
news.
Real quick, we need to do a segment in the future of like the tier rankings, like S to F tier. We need to do like Houston coaches.
Oh yeah,
At some point, we need to do that segment. That'd be pretty fun. But yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that'd be cool. But to better news, Steven Nelson retired. That idiot wanted, he declined a contract from us and got nothing. Nothing. Nobody wants him. And he realized that he was, mediocre at best and retired after 9 seasons in the NFL. Good riddance. He talked to he basically called our coach a milk dud. He called Nick Casario, like don't trust guys that wear vests. So like screw Steven Nelson. Like he wasn't all that anyways. But
I originally included this in the news breakdown, so it'd be like a bittersweet moment, and you came in firing on all cylinders, and I love it.
yeah, screw him.
Well, what I was gonna say, I don't know. Like, there's probably a few factors. Obviously, he wanted to be a starter, and so what I'm thinking is maybe he didn't want to go through another season, risking injury, being in game day shape if he wasn't gonna have a significant role. I don't know. He did miss out on some money because, I mean, someone would have paid him. He was still playing at a relatively high level, but yeah, I mean, it is really unfortunate how unceremonious his exit from us was. Made some comments that he probably either regrets or will regret in the future. But
Yeah.
we're gonna have. It looks like Kamari Lassiter's been doing well in camp, and he's gonna hopefully replace him really nicely.
Yeah. Well, let's see what he does. But next we're going to talk about Dylan Horton, who is in remission from his cancer diagnosis, I believe, last year, which is really good news for the Texans. We need some depth at the outside, but regardless of like forget about football for a minute. It's hard to play at such a high level in a professional sport and then go through what he went through. We also have another player that went through cancer, John Mechie, and you can kind of see how that's affected. It takes a toll on your body. It takes time to heal, but this is good news, and hopefully he can get back healthy and get back on the field as soon as possible because we would love to see how he performs. He was a fourth round draft pick, which is kind of high in some regard, so like they obviously saw something in him, and I'm excited to see what that is.
Yeah, fourth rounder is really good draft capital. He's gonna have some great mentors in Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter approaching this season. Hopefully, he can develop nicely. He was a TCU alum too. Pretty cool. Yeah, I really hope we see him on the field. I'm super excited. Maybe it might take him a year like Mechie to acclimate, and we'll see if Mechie breaks out this year. But super happy for him. He's probably stoked to get back to practice instead of going through cancer treatment. So,
Oh yeah, for
big
sure.
shout out to him. Big shout out.
Yeah, shout out Dylan Horton. Well, what this episode is about, really, this is what we're doing this for. We're going to talk about our picks for fantasy breakouts. We have a couple of Texans players, and we also have a couple players from around the NFL that we believe are going to break out. We didn't include really anybody who is fantasy killers like Christian McCaffrey or Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chase. None of those guys, but these are the guys that we think will break out this year more than last year, right? Because it's kind of hard for Christian McCaffrey to top what he did last year. So
Yeah.
we're gonna choose some guys that can really break out. I'll go ahead and start, Mark.
Do it.
First one is CJ.
How original.
Yeah, right. So the reason I say this is because last year, right, he wasn't. Nobody picked. I believe he was probably a free agent in most drafts. I would think. After the draft for fantasy, he was probably a free agent in most leagues. And then he got picked up pretty quick. Probably the third week. Total last year, he had 275 points. Okay. That's really good. He also had really good games, but he also missed games, right? So I think that CJ can be someone who you some of these quarterbacks who aren't healthy, kind of like like Joe Burrow, right? Who hasn't really proved to stay healthy. Kirk Cousins. By the way, actually, I want to mention something, Mark. So Madden's ratings came out today. I think
Really?
they're the official ratings. They don't even have CJ top 10.
Wow.
They
Wow.
have Mahomes at 99, Lamar at 98. Then they have Burrow, Dak, Kirk Cousins, Herbert.
I'm guessing Aaron Rodgers is like a 91 or something.
Yeah, maybe Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, CJ's not in the top 10.
I've noticed that with Madden though, is they give a lot more credit to veterans, and it takes a little bit of time. Like they don't put someone from a 70 to a 92 in 1 year. Like
Right.
no matter how well they played. So I would say give it some time over the course of the season. Like it's only a sophomore year, but I think putting him outside the top 10 in Madden is kind of irresponsible.
I mean, because he was an 82 to start the year, or like a 77 or something. He ended the year at like a 82, and he's not even an 84. Like, come on, man, it's crazy. But yeah. So I think he's definitely someone to look out for, like early. You know what I mean? When it's time to start picking your quarterbacks, he might be the first, second, or third quarterback off the board, and some people might. Yeah. So that's CJ. I really think he could have a really good fantasy year.
I think. Oh, real quick. I think he's gonna have a great year too. In dynasty drafts, which I'm not a big single season fantasy football person. I'm more of a dynasty football person. In dynasty drafts, he was absolutely being taken first round last year, 100%. And it was crazy how quick he went from being on like a taxi squad on a team to being a starter. Like it was insane. It was a matter of like 5 weeks. Everyone was scrambling.
You fantasy, you only draft rookies.
Yeah,
like your
correct.
fantasy
In dynasty.
dynasty league.
Yeah.
So like ours was
you do a rookie
season.
draft. Yeah. And I actually made a trade. I think it was week 3 or 4 of last year. I traded Trevor Lawrence and received CJ Stroud straight up, and it was an amazing choice. I was so happy. Huge fleece on my part. But yeah, I think he's gonna have a great year too. I think he's gonna be reached for in a lot of leagues. I think a lot of people are gonna be selecting him really high, maybe even too high. But that's just because I think he's gonna have a great season. So if you're reaching high for someone who's gonna have a great season, that's okay. But yeah, he's definitely gonna be a popular pick.
Yeah. So next up, I got Tank. I'm just really excited to see what he can do. He has high hopes. In his interview, I think a couple weeks ago, he said he wants to hit over 1,000. He had 118 points last year. Obviously, we all know he got hurt. I forget what week it was. It was against Denver, I think,
I think it was
week
like week.
13.
Yeah, I thought it was like 11.
Yeah. So
Something like that.
whatever week, it was pretty kind of late, kind of late.
Yeah.
But it was against Denver. He broke his leg. I was actually at that game. It was pretty crazy.
Mm.
But yeah, he had 118 points last year. I think he can definitely top that. That was with 709 yards in the year. So if he can hit, his goal, he can definitely break out and have, well over 200 points. Um, so that's Tank. I'm really excited to see what he can do this year. I think he can definitely help this team tremendously alongside Nico and Stefan and Dalton and Joe Mixon out the backfield. So really excited to see what he can do. Next up, I don't know if this is kind of like breakout, but like he kind of fell off like the back half of the year because they weren't running the ball as much. Um, so he had 188 points and he played all year, which is pretty good, right? He didn't even reach a
And
thousand
for those
rushing
people
yards.
listening, it's Bijan Robinson.
Yeah, sorry.
We're going to the NFL players now, not just Texans.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah,
it's Bijan, right? So Bijan Robinson didn't even have 1,000 yards rushing, but he did have over like 1,400 scrimmage yards. He had like 400 receiving or whatever. So he's obviously going to be a really good running back in this league. He can run the ball really well. He was a top 10 pick, so if you're picking a running back in the top 10, he's obviously got really good potential. So yeah, 188 points last year. I think now with this new scheme, now with Kirk Cousins, they don't necessarily have to rely on him as much, but they can definitely use him better than they did last year. The scheme might be better or whatever it is. Because Arthur Smith, I don't think used him right. If that was his call, maybe it was the offensive coordinator that screwed all that up. But I know a lot of Atlanta Falcon fans um, were pretty disappointed with the production due to the lack of play calls for him, right? So um, I think he can definitely break out and have a way better year. Definitely over 1,000 yards rushing for sure.
yeah, I
Um,
like the pick. I think he's going to be used heavily, and he still makes a great tandem with Tyler Algier. Like
oh yeah,
Tyler's still really good, but yeah, I would expect Bijan to have a monster year this year too.
yeah. No, I definitely expect a monster year. Um, Next up is a rookie, Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm super excited to see what this guy can do. I think Kyler Murray limits his ceiling because I don't think Kyler Murray's like the best throwing quarterback at all, really. Like, I mean, he's good, but we saw him last year against us when he tried to throw deep and he got picked off by Steven Nelson. He can't really lead you too much. But look, I don't know the quarterback's name for Ohio State last year, but last year he had 67 catches, 1,200 yards, and 14 touchdowns. With in his years with Ohio State, he had 155 catches, 2,613 yards, and 31 touchdowns. That's really good. He had CJ for a couple of those seasons, so he's 6'4", 210. He's obviously their wide receiver one. Super excited to see what he can do, but I do think Kyler Murray kind of limits him a bit
Well,
when it
I
comes to that.
think like I don't disagree with you, but for being the first wide receiver selected, I think he got a really good quarterback. Like he was fourth overall pick. Usually it's going to be a dumpster fire of a team. And to get a guy like Kyler, who was also coming off severe injury last year, um, I almost picked Kyler as one of my breakouts, quite honestly.
Hmm.
But I think he's in a really good spot, clear cut number one. He's also got what's his name, Michael something. I can never
Wilson.
remember his last name. Michael Wilson. Thank you. I almost said Michael Floyd, but I think he's retired. Can't remember. But yeah, Michael Wilson and him, two great young wide receivers. I think he's in a really good spot. He's going to get a lot of targets. In my dynasty league, I also made a trade that got me the first overall pick for this year, and I selected him, so I'm rooting for him too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like the pick. I think he is an obvious candidate to break out. I think he's going to have a huge year. So
Yeah.
we'll
I
see.
mean, it could have been worse, right? Like he could have went to New York and got Danny Dimes.
Yeah,
But
that would
like,
have been awful.
yeah, but like Kyler Murray isn't all that. Like, I mean, we saw how he performed last year. It wasn't great. It wasn't good watching. Like, I didn't have fun, seeing him run around or anything like that. I don't think he did that well. But who knows? Maybe he, after this offseason, he got healthier and he comes back and is the guy that everyone thought he'd be. Who knows? But
I think there's a
I
good
don't think
chance.
he.
We'll see.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we'll
I don't
see.
think
We'll
he
see.
will, but we'll see.
Yeah,
Quentin Johnston. I think this one will be a dud.
I
To be quite
disagree.
honest with you, but yeah. So I'm just gonna say this. I don't have a good case for him to be a breakout player,
Correct.
but I do know that Keenan Allen's gone. Mike Williams is gone. They do have Lad McConkey, who I really like, but he had 56 points last year. It's pretty disappointing. He had 430 yards. Um, he had 67 targets, 38 receptions, so about 30 drops, or give or take. He probably dropped less than that, but he was targeted 30 times, and we saw a lot of moments of him dropping the ball. So I wouldn't be surprised if he dropped 10 or 12 balls last year. But I do think that he's their wide receiver one, though. Maybe that's a
Ooh,
tough take, but with this new offense with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert trying to have another breakout year, who could have been a candidate on here too, um, and that the rookie receiver, they don't have a lot of weapons. They lost Eckler, right? They're kind of in a rebuild, so I don't know. We'll see, but I think he's their wide receiver one.
I
I don't
think
know
he
who else
is.
would be.
I think he's their wide receiver 3 behind Joshua Palmer and Lad McConkey.
Oh, Palmer.
And I want to say
Palmer's on
one.
their team. Yeah.
Dude, I swear to God, if Lad McConkey's name was Jeff Smith, everyone's like, I like Lad McConkey. I like Lad. I think he's a good player. Like, dude, if his name was Jeff Smith, no one would be high on that guy. I swear, dude. Lad McConkey is a Hall of Fame tier name.
Yeah. Well, he
And
was also really good at Georgia too.
and you
He
know
was.
what? I like him. I think he's going to do well too. But
Yeah.
yeah, Joshua Palmer and Lad are ahead of Quentin in my eyes. Quentin
Mm.
had some unforgivable, unsightly, ungodly drops last year that were
Yeah.
just horrific to watch.
He was
Really
kind of bad.
brutal. I'm rooting for him. TCU guy. I'm not like huge on TCU. It's just because Texas, but I hope he does well. I really do. But I don't think he's going to break out personally. If he can somehow use that, was he like 6'4" frame
Yeah. He's really
to
big.
summon the inner Megatron inside of him and sort of evolve into a better player, cool. But from what I saw last year, I can't make that jump to justify that he's going to be great this year. So we'll see.
Yeah.
That's definitely a sleeper pick on your part. That's going to be an unpopular opinion, but if it hits, you'll be remembered forever. So
Yeah. And I want to say in the comments, please tell me those are my picks. We're going to move on to Mark next, but please tell me who you think is going to be the biggest breakout in fantasy, whatever
yeah,
fantasy league you play. If you play dynasty or if you play single season, just let us know. Mark, what do you think is my biggest breakout?
who do I think is yours?
Yeah, like out of my choices.
I would say I would have to say Bijan. I think Bijan's going to have a monster year this year.
Yeah,
In fact, I think I'm going to go form a trade package for him after this, but probably give away some very highly touted assets. But yeah, I think Bijan's a great choice. I kind of wish I had chosen him in hindsight. He's going to be awesome. Arthur Smith out of the building. I think that's huge for him. After 2022, Arthur Smith looked like the next best head coach, and he was already getting like head coach of the year like odds like decently in his favor. And then 2023 just made so many unpopular choices, and Kyle Pitts refused to break out. And he put all of his faith in Desmond Ritter, and everyone knew it was a bad idea, and he did it anyway. And
yeah.
so
And now he's with the Steelers.
he is with the Steelers. Someone else on the Falcons followed him to the Steelers. I can't remember who.
Like a
But
player?
yeah, there were some memes like can't escape Arthur Smith or something. But
Where did Ritter go? Did he go to Arizona?
he went to Arizona. So, if Kyler Murray doesn't work out, Marvin Harrison Jr.'s got a pretty good safety net. So
They got Desmond Shitter back there.
Desmond Shitter, that's good. All right, I'm going to go through mine. I have 2 Texans and 2 just NFL players. My first one, Joe Mixon.
Love it.
Now, look, here's the deal. I've been growing fond of Joe Mixon over the last couple months ever since his signing. And at first, my views were this guy's getting older. We replaced Devin Singletary with maybe a slightly better but still aging Devin Singletary. Let me read some stats to you. All right. Joe Mixon's going to be 28 this year. He's 27. He turns 28 next month. Derrick Henry, I understand that's not a great comparison, is going to be 30 this upcoming year. So 2 years younger. Joe Mixon in the last 3 years in PPR finished 6th, 10th, and 4th among running backs. 3 top 10 years in a row. Been very healthy over the last 3 years. I think the year before that, he had a season-ending injury, played like 10 or 12 weeks or something like that. But the dude has a lot left in the tank. He doesn't have like a super sexy yards per carry number. It's always around 4. But he's going to be an awesome check down option for CJ. I can see him getting a lot of receptions, maybe like 2 to 4 receptions a game, along with his usual running load. And if you're like, well, he's going to be a 1-2 tandem with Dameon Pierce. Like if Dameon Pierce doesn't break out, which there are pretty good odds of happening, and I want him to, but if he doesn't break out, Joe Mixon is the clear-cut running back 1 for the Texans, and he's going to have a huge amount of carries. So that's my reasoning. Top 10, 3 years in a row in PPR, and he's about to enter an explosive offense where maybe he's not the focal point, but he's the clear-cut number 1 running back.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say Dameon Pierce is better or deserves the starting job. Joe Mixon is him. You know, I'm really excited to see what he can do for us, and I totally agree with the pick.
Awesome. Yeah, we've seen some videos of the guys like, the Texans social media teams, burning the midnight oil, sending like, workout regiment videos of them, and Joe Mixon's looking huge. I mean, he's a football player, so maybe that means nothing, but really excited to see him. My second pick.
And real quick, before you go on, introducing first ballot Hall of Famer, the second pick for Mark. Show him who it is, bro.
Thank you for that introduction.
Hall of Famer.
Kaimi Fairbairn. And if you know me, you knew this was coming. Now, Kaimi obviously got injured last year. He missed a few games. He was on pace. He had 9.3 fantasy points per game. He's on pace to be ranked 3rd among kickers in fantasy points, which is kind of crazy, honestly. I don't think any Texans fan doubts that he's a great kicker. And I'm so glad that we are not one of the teams who's kind of in kicker limbo, where every time a kicker walks up to kick like a 40-yard field goal, we're filled with anxiety. Kaimi hits those for breakfast. Yeah. So let me tell you something. He finished 1st among kickers in 2018, and then the Texans franchise sort of went to shit for a few years, and he was just hovering around average because I'm sure it's ingrained in everyone's memories, but we could not advance the football past midfield for 3 years. It was awful. And now we're coming to a point where, we have an explosive offense. Kaimi, if he plays a full season, which I'm going to bank on him doing so since kickers rarely get injured and it kind of seemed like a freak injury last year. If he does so, I think he's locked in top 5, 100%. Yeah. He's just so accurate. And margin for error among kicker rankings is really slim. Like 3 or 4 kickers can be separated by 5 fantasy points in like week 13 or 14. But he just, I feel like his accuracy kind of gives him the edge over other kickers. And so that's why I'm saying he's going to break out this year. Don't pick up any random kicker over the waiver wire. Pick up Kaimi Fairbairn, and you'll thank me later.
Yep. Yeah, I picked him up for my team last year. Awesome pick. When he got injured, it sucked, but
yeah,
still a good pick. And we love Kaimi. He's awesome. He pissed me off a couple times last year, but that's okay. Matt Amendola was worse. Let's be clear.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's also important that we re-signed John Week, so we have the same guy long snapping. I think
But-
we do have a new holder because what's his name? The punter that we got.
Tommy Townsend.
Yeah, Tommy Townsend. He's going to be holding, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yeah, he
I would
probably
assume
is.
so. Yeah. So that'll be interesting.
But he held it for Harrison Butker, who's a really good kicker too. So
Yeah, Harrison Butker's had an interesting offseason.
yeah,
All right, let's go to my general NFL players. Devontae Adams, and I understand that with this pick, I'm sort of walking the line between like a breakout and an already solidified NFL player. Devontae Adams had a really weird year last year. He ranked number 10 among wide receivers, which is really good. He had Jimmy Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell throwing to him last year. Both awful. Jimmy Garoppolo was horrible last year. He got benched almost immediately, and head coach for the Raiders, Josh.
Josh McCown or
No. Oh man,
McDonald, Josh.
no, but we're close. We're close. Josh McDaniels. McDaniels, along with Jimmy Garoppolo, sort of was fired / left. So I think Gardner Minshew is going to start for this team. And I think Devontae Adams is in an amazing position. I think Gardner's going to sling the ball. And Devontae had like 160 targets last year and only caught like 100 of them because he's getting passes from Garoppolo and Aiden O'Connell. And I think if he gets a similar target share from Gardner Minshew, he will be a top 5 wide receiver once again.
Yeah, I want to say that
go on.
Aiden O'Connell, I don't think is a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's a starter. He obviously can't run an offense throughout a season, but he's definitely a good quarterback. Like he can be a good backup. And Gardner Minshew has starter experience. You saw what he did last year. They almost beat us if it wasn't for one play, and made it to the playoffs. So they got a really good, cheap quarterback in Gardner Minshew.
100%. Yeah, they're starting a 6th-round rookie, Aiden O'Connell. I'm pretty sure he's a 6th-rounder. So that's going to happen, and he actually did a pretty sufficient job. I'll also say that before this past season, over the last 3 seasons, Devontae Adams ranked 1st, 2nd, and 3rd among wide receivers, all top 3, which is elite.
It's really good.
So 10th last year, I'm expecting he bumps back up to top 5, get a lot of targets from Gardner Minshew. My last one, James Cook. Am I picking him because he's on my dynasty team? Possibly. But I will also say that there are a lot of good reasons. For one, he has averaged about 5 yards a carry over his career, which is awesome. And second reason is the Bills wide receiver room has been stripped down to nothing and rebuilt with a bunch of 2s and 3s. So James Cook, in my opinion, passed the eye test last year. He played a lot of primetime games where they were just feeding him and they were marching down the field with the Cook and Allen combo. And I think that they're going to run the ball a lot more this next season just due to lack of weapons in the wide receiver room. And I feel like Cook is going to have probably a top 8 running back season. So
yeah.
Not like I'm not trying to say like James Cook is going to be like unbelievable next year, but I think he's going to have a big jump and he's going to be one of those guys who's locked into your starting lineup every single week. So,
yeah, I think James Cook is a great running back, better than his brother at the moment. But yeah, I mean, we saw what he did to the Cowboys last year, man. It was, he had a field day with the Cowboys defense, who was was the best defense in the league at the time. I would say. And man,
that was an amazing primetime game. That was
awesome. It was good. But I mean, dude, he just had a field day. Like, and that wasn't the only team he did it to. There was multiple teams, and yeah, dude, I think he can definitely break out this year and be a solidified top 10 running back in the league.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm going crazy. You said better than his brother. Who's his brother?
Dalvin Cook.
Is it really? You're lying.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah, looking up.
That's crazy. Wow.
You didn't know that Dalvin Cook was his brother?
I had no idea. I don't know how it's possible.
Yeah, look, I don't want to sound like an idiot and say that I said something that I don't know, but I am looking it up at the moment, and I don't know if that's true.
Okay, I'm
I
glad I'm not
swear, no, wait,
crazy.
because I swear
Are you
that
sure you're not
people were
thinking of the
like,
Diggs brothers,
no, no,
Stephon and
I
Trayvon?
think that is true.
Maybe they're like
Yeah, it
cousins
is
or
true.
something.
Yeah, that
Oh, they
is.
are
It's
brothers.
his brother. That's
Okay,
his
I'm
brother.
an idiot then.
Yeah,
I don't know how
I
I
didn't
didn't
want to
know
sound
that.
like an idiot and say something, but no, I swear because I was watching like last year. They were like his brother Dalvin. Like, yeah, no, it's his brother.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, maybe every time they talked about it, I had like my head turned away from the TV or something, just like over the last 2 years. But um, cool. Noted.
yeah.
Also, Dalvin Cook, is he done?
I don't
Is he
know,
a
but he's
free
only
agent right now?
28. I just saw it. It's pretty young. I mean,
I think
he's
he's a
probably
free
got
agent though.
something.
Oh no. He joined the Ravens last year after getting cut by the Jets.
Yeah, he's a free agent though.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, man. I wonder if we pick him up. That'd be pretty cool. But
Maybe
I think he's
that'd be pretty
probably
cool to have him.
washed. Yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think that's all we have. It's a pretty short episode. Not a whole lot going on. We're in the dark days right now of summer, where
Hmm.
even hockey is coming to a close, and we're forced to watch baseball and pretend that we care about the 115th game of the regular season. So I'm
Yeah.
not shitting on baseball. I really do like watching baseball, but there's just not a whole lot of sports going on. That's terrible. So
Yeah, no, I agree, man. So I'm just ready for football season to start. But look, I'm glad we got an episode out to talk about some things that we felt like we could, relate to other people with. Um, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. We're gonna try to, keep coming out with stuff as long as it makes sense. But yeah, I'm super glad we got back into it today, Mark. And thank you guys for watching.
Yeah. Hey, tell us your breakout players. Comment down below. Who do you think is gonna be a fantasy football stud this year?
Yeah, and let us know
When
which.
I
Go ahead.
Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh, I said when I originally told Nathan to make a list of fantasy studs, he made a completely different list, totally inappropriate. And I was like, Nathan, that's not what I meant. I meant fantasy football studs. And he was like, oh, my bad. You remade it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sorry to expose you like that. But go on.
Yeah, it's all good, bro. Yeah, but no, we're super excited to be back, and we'll definitely do it again when we feel we're ready to do an episode. And we appreciate you guys for watching. Please comment and like the video.
Thank you all.
See y'all.